Today we're going to discuss the three elements that we forged in the last three videos, and we're going to discuss how we take those and we put them together to make our foot rail as we designed it. So the first piece that we forged was this piece of 1 inch with the reverse twist. Now the total length on that when we were done was 21, and I'm pretty sure we started with 24 inches, but I can't remember for sure. But we've got 21 now. So what we ended up doing was, if you'll notice, we're longer on this end than we are on this end. So we just kind of looked at that, and we had about 1 inch, so we come down here and we went about 1 inch past where our twist stopped, and that's where we cut it right there. So we had the equal amount of straight on both ends. So we cut it off there, okay, and that gave us an even length. The next thing we forged is we forged our basket twist, and basically what we did, and we left it rough here, is we took 4 pieces of 1/2 inch square stock, 16 inches long, and we bundled them together and we tack welded them on the ends. After we tack welded them, then we took and we marked 2 inches up and we welded 2 inches up on both ends. Okay? Now once we did that, we heated it up and we twisted it. On this one, we twisted it counterclockwise. Then after we got done twisting it, we twisted it counterclockwise, or clockwise, half the amount of turns. So we twisted it 1.5 turns, 6/4, and then we untwisted it 3/4, and we pushed down on it while we untwisted it, and that gave us our basket twist. So there's our basket twist. Next we take some 1.5 inch square stock, and we cut it in 1.5 inch chunks to give us 1.5 inch squares. Then we welded a handle on it. Then after we welded the handle on it, then we forged it underneath the KA75 to make it into a diamond shaped ball. Then we cut the handles off, we cleaned them up with a grinder, and then we tumbled them for about 30 minutes to clean them up. So that gives us our three elements. Now, putting the elements together, what we did was first we cleaned up these welds. Okay, got the boogers off the ends, cleaned up the welds. Okay, so we cut this piece off, and then we take this piece and we grind it so that it's beveled almost to the center on both sides. That way when we weld it, we've got more surface contact to weld, and we know our weld will hold. Now we don't bother chamfering these, beveling these. Now the one thing we did do is we figured out the length that we wanted, the total length, and what we've got here that we started with 16 is we've got about 14 1/4. So we come up here, once we cleaned our weld up, we come up here and we took about 1.5 inches off of each end. Somewhere close to 1.5 inches, we cut that off. And that's the prep work that we're going to do. So we'll come back in a minute with the pieces prepped. Okay, so now if you look, we've got one end of our reverse twist bar tapered the way we talked about. You can see that. It doesn't quite go all the way in the center, but it's close. So we tapered two sides. Now if you look at we cut it off like we talked about, and then we cleaned up the welds. Now we're not going to bevel this because we don't need to. Not for what we're doing here. We didn't do any of these because we're not ready to use those yet. Remember, we're just going to set those off to the side. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to line them up. We're going to run weld on two sides with the bevel. Right here on the sides with the bevels, we're going to run two welds, and we're going to fill them up until they hump out over the edge, so when we grind them down, we've got plenty of meat. I'm not going to film welding it, but that's what we're going to do next, and then we'll show you how we finish that joint. So right here, I just want to show you that the jig we're going to use, or the setup we're going to use to line this up. We've got a short piece of 1/4 by 1 flat bar here, and we've just clamped it to there, and then we line up the basket twist and we clamp it on there. Now you'll notice, I don't know if you can really see it real good or not, but it's kind of going uphill. I don't worry a whole lot about that, because once we get it all welded together and get everything smoothed out, we're going to heat that and make sure that the basket twist is straight with the bar. So as long as it's not off at a 45, I don't worry too much about whether it's off a little bit. So let's get down to welding. Now when you weld that in, you want to make your root pass, and then you want to make your second pass, kind of weaving back and forth and filling that up. First pass I go, let's just call it left to right, and the second pass I go right to left, and the third pass I go left to right again. So I'm always going opposite. Before I made that third pass, you saw me just kind of stitch or daub weld on these corners, and I do that to build up those corners, because the corners tend to droop out, and when you go to grind it down, your corners will be shallow. So if you take the time while you're welding it up and daub those corners on each side as you're doing it, it'll build up those corners. You won't have shallow corners. So now we're going to put it up. One side is not welded up facing us. And we're just going to take right along that seam. As soon as I find my glasses. Right along that seam right there, we're going to grind down in there about halfway, but not quite halfway, but close. Right there at that seam. We're not quite all the way, or not quite halfway down, but we're close. Now we're going to bevel from our reverse twist bar side. We're going to bevel into that. You can see that joint, it's beveled, and it's not quite half the way down, but it's pretty close. what that bevel enables us to do is to get the weld down in there at the very root of it when we make the first pass. Just gives us more strength. Now we're going to do the exact same thing with the other side. So there we have it welded up. We made sure that we had it pumped up all the way around. We made sure we had our corners built up. So when it cools down, we're going to grind that first, and then after we grind it fairly flush, but not quite flush, then we're going to take a flap wheel and we're going to finish it with a flap wheel. So now if you look at it, we've got it ground down and we've got fairly sharp corners on it. We're real happy with it. Like I said, I start with a regular grinding wheel on the grinder. And now we're going to go to a flap disc. I think it's a 60 grit, I think. Yeah, it's a 60 grit. And we're just going to finish all four corners with the flap disc. So there it is. So there's our bar, all nice and blended in. When we take a wire brush to that, that'll help that blend in some more also. But that gives an idea of how we joined the bar and the basket twist. Now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to take one of these balls and we're going to weld it on, and what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the center of the bar at a diamond on the diamond. We don't want it flat like this, or at least I don't. I want it to be on the diamond, and I want it to be off to the side. I don't want it to be like this. I want it to be on the diamond both directions. So that's what we're going to do next. And we're basically going to do it the same way. We're just going to take and we're going to fill in here and fill in back here and then build it up and grind it down. So now as you can see, we've got it welded and we've got it built up. So now we're going to grind that down and blend that in. So there it is, blended in with the grinder. So next we're going to take a flap wheel to it. So there's our piece blended in, wire brushed. That's how you put the three elements together. Now we've still got this one ball sitting here that we haven't done anything with. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this ball, we're going to put it inside there. Okay? And that'll basically finish our four elements that we have here. So we're going to do that next. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the last of our diamond balls and we're going to spread these with heat and this pry bar. We're going to put our ball inside there and then close it back up. That's what we're going to do. Now as you saw, we heated that there and there on that twist. You got to heat both places or it won't bend. And then we bent it with the bar. We didn't bend it any farther than we had to, and we kind of drove it down in there. And then we heated it up and we bent it back. When everything's said and done, you should have a nice even twist again. You're going to look down it. It's not too bad. It probably needs tweaked just a little bit, going this way a little bit, but it's not bad for now. So there's our finished bar that we just made with the 3 elements, and we put the diamond ball on the inside of the cage. So there's our finished bar. And over here is our finished foot rail from one end to the other. That was completed using the same techniques you just saw. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something from it. If you did, like it and share it with your friends. And we'll see you the next time that we get together in suburban Jessup. Y'all be safe. Bye.